Call 1-800-747-FREE. This is ESPN 106.3 WUUB Jupiter, a Good Karma Brands radio station.
NFL players are loud and they're wrong. What else is new?
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios.
The man your man could smell.
Theo Dosey is theoretically speaking.
But are you a different animal and the same beast?
What does that mean, Kobe Bryant?
Streaming live on YouTube. Here's Theo Dosey.
I don't know how anybody else's Wednesday is going, but good people, I'm feeling good. I'm feeling especially good on this Wednesday. It's episode 23 of Theoretically Speaking. That's right, the big 2-3. It's the Jordan episode. We got CKatt on the ones and twos, the beat rolling. We're feeling good on this Wednesday. The vibes are high, and they're especially high for me today because I had a milestone happen today. I really feel like I came into my own today. I'm feeling very brash, very confident, and specifically because CKatt, this morning, I voided a check.
Is that good?
I voided a check, baby. I am officially doing some real grown man business in my house because me at the big old age of 30, I sat there, I took out my checkbook as I was getting ready to obviously I'm doing a transaction here, and I voided a check. And CKatt, you're actually younger than me. So when's the last time you actually held a checkbook?
I've never owned a checkbook in my life. I don't know what voiding a check means. Is that the same thing as having a check bounce? That's what it sounds like.
No. So voiding a check is actually one of those things. I felt this immense amount of power. So let's dial you back to the beginning of this, how I came to the point where this morning I did a very demonstrative voiding of a check. I needed to be able to pay my HOA. And because myself and my wife, we just got married a couple months ago, so we're doing different things with our bank accounts and whatnot. I had to take where the ACH was coming out of my old bank account and move it to a new bank account. And when I was filling out that form, it said you need to void a check and attach it to that form. And then I came to the recollection, the realization that I actually had never voided a check before in my life. Like, I don't think I've ever actually voided a check. And I remember seeing like images of it in the past where it would say capital VOID on a check and therein the check is void. I also don't understand why you have to void checks, but I'm proud to say I voided a check this morning. I'm not so proud to say that I did have to Google how do you void a check before I did.
I'll be honest with you, Theo. We've done 22 of these things, now 22.1 of these things.
Yes.
That was the most boring thing I've ever heard in my life.
Well, here's the thing about voiding a check, though. When I voided that check, it did something to me. It moved something in me because I knew I was making some big business moves here. I started to be overcome with this irrational confidence, this irrational amount of confidence. On my walk here to the studio here in City Place, and I hope I'm saying it right now these days, City Place, I felt just overcome with this new sense of urgency, this new sense of purpose because I voided a check this morning. I felt bigger about myself. I felt better, and I had that same irrational confidence that I feel like NFL players must have, the way that they think that they would be better off in the NBA than NBA athletes in the NFL. Yes, CKatt, that was a convoluted way to get around to the point that I cannot believe in 2024 we are having the debate of on which athletes would do better in the other league. NFL players, if you inject them into the NBA, or NBA players, if you inject them into the NFL. And if you have no idea why I'm talking about this today on Theoretically Speaking, it's not just a random theoretical that we come up with here. Here's Austin Rivers, former guard in the NBA, Doc Rivers' son. I was going to say Bucks coach Doc Rivers, but I forgot he's no longer Bucks coach. Or he is. He is still Bucks coach.
Yeah, he's sticking around so far.
I'm tripping. I almost fired the guy already. He just got the job a couple months ago. He just snuck his way into that thing. Here's Austin Rivers, though, on the Pat Mcafee Show yesterday, getting the sports world talking a buzz, saying that NBA players could go into the NFL and play ball.
Where the best athletes in the world are
That's us. I could take 30 players right now in the NBA and throw them in the NFL. You cannot take 30 NFL players and put them in the NBA.
It's because you only allowed 5 on the court. Let's all relax.
It's because you get a break every play. All you got to do is catch the ball and run north or south.
Listen, our sport,
it ain't complex.
Our sport's better. Our sport's better because we would just create a position for one of you 5'2", 40 running 6'10" guys and just put them, can't get hit much, fragile, all right, little thin, very tall. We would just create a position because we got big brains in our sport.
Listen,
that's what we would do.
There's a reason why hip hop artists, when they rap, they compare themselves to ballers. They're not talking about footballers, they're talking about basketball players.
He's right. Austin Rivers is right. The reason why this debate is so silly to me, because if you give anybody the option to play in the NBA or the NFL, CKatt, which one do you think they're picking every single time?
They're going to play basketball.
The best athletes, not just in America, but in the world, play the game of basketball. The NBA is a global game. The NBA also has higher height requirements. There are a substantial amount of reasons why the NFL and its athletes are, dare I say, I don't want to say less adequate than the NBA's athlete, but I will say they're less equipped to step onto a basketball court and compete in the NBA than NBA athletes would be to be able to compete in the NFL. And the funniest thing about this is the football players, the football junkies, and the defenders of the gridiron, their favorite retort to this is, basketball players don't have the mentality. They don't have the mindset. They don't have the strength or the will to just put their body on the line and get hurt or scramble their brains out there on the field in the line of scrimmage, just banging against guys. And if that's your only argument to this is a mentality thing, then I think you're farther missing the point right here. And I think that, Chris Long, who's very respected in this, he played in the trenches. And what I will agree with people that are on the football side of this fence is there's not many NBA players that I think would succeed if you had to, tell them to get out there on the field and put their hand in the dirt and bang up against a guy 70, 80 snaps a game. That's not the position I would put an NBA player into. But I don't think there's a single position in the NBA that a guy like a Micah Parsons, who was asked how many points per game would he score in the NBA, and he said 20 points per game, where we saw Micah Parsons at All-Star Weekend this past year, and he's still dribbling looking down at the basketball. It takes a substantially different amount of skill to be able to be elite enough to play in the NBA at basketball versus the amount of skill I think you can learn over an offseason to be able to make a dent in the NFL. And it's been proven out. There are former basketball players that have excelled at a high level in the NFL. You think about guys like Antonio Gates. You think about guys like Jimmy Graham, who played one season at tight end for the University of Miami in college. One season of football after he played basketball the whole 3 or 4 years he was there, and then went off to the NFL to be one of the greatest tight ends of his era. It's been done several times before. It's not even really that up for debate. Basketball players, especially at the NBA level, have a much better chance of being able to succeed in the NFL than NFL players can at basketball. And if your whole argument is, mentality, it's a gladiator sport, well, maybe they're just the ones stupid enough to play football instead of basketball, or they're the ones not skilled enough to make it into the NBA because it's a more exclusive club. 450 guys are on NBA active rosters. 15 per the 30 teams, 450 guys. There's nearly 1,700 guys that are on NFL active rosters when the season kicks off. It's a much more exclusive club to a higher level athlete. But if you want to get involved in this, if you think I may be wrong, you can jump on Twitter and vote in the poll or tap into the phone lines. I'll give that out in a second. Again, the poll on Twitter right now at Theo Dosey TV is which of the 4 major sports is the most difficult to play in? The NHL, Major League Baseball, NBA, or the NFL? And that one's going. I'll give the results to that as well. But if you think that you have a better handle on this, which league is tougher to play in, the NBA or the NFL? Which league is tougher to make it into? You let us know on the Baptist Health Hotlines. 888-760-3776, 888-760-3776. I hope you're not foolish enough to think that football players would be able to step onto a basketball court and actually move the needle in winning. We'll see. 888-760-3776. That's the number to the Baptist Health Hotline. Are you experiencing foot and ankle pain and need to see an expert in the field? Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has a team of foot and ankle orthopedic surgeons, specialists who are regarded as leaders in their specialty. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho to learn more today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care combines its resources of experienced physicians and leading-edge treatments and technology to provide advanced orthopedic, foot and ankle, joint replacement, spine, and sports medicine care. Visit baptisthealth.net/ortho for more information today. Baptist Health Orthopedic Care has offices conveniently located in Palm Beach County through the Florida Keys. Learn more by visiting baptisthealth.net/ortho. CKatt, we're going to go to line one. We got Jalen in North Carolina. Jalen, you're on Theoretically Speaking. And Jalen, who do you think has a better job or has a better chance of excelling in the other sports? NFL athletes in the NBA or ballers that step onto the gridiron?
Man, I'll tell you this, Theo. You really kind of got three different questions going, right? So there's the who adapts better, who translates better, NFL or NBA. Then on Twitter, you ask which of the four is the most difficult to play, and I'm going to get to a third one kind of later. But the first question, I think I like the numbers game you played earlier, right, with the total number of guys on NFL rosters. Honestly, man, I think that NFL guys, just because of the sheer numbers, and then there's more two-sport athletes in NFL, multiple sport athlete guys. You know, there's guys like T. Higgins, who was a top 50 recruit coming out of high school. You got guys like that who could, and then there's guys like Antonio Gates that have a history of playing college basketball.
But he couldn't make it to the NBA. Antonio Gates couldn't make it to the NBA. That's why he became a Hall of Fame tight end.
Exactly. But I'll tell you this, I have a harder time to see NBA guys with just the physicality of the football game playing in the NFL. Because, there's a lot of banging in football, but it's different. The guys talk about, a lot of the Michigan State guys talk about, the issues they have, or when Tom Izzo brings out the shoulder pads.
Yeah.
For practice, when they get out rebounded by a whole lot, So they bring out the shoulder pads, and then you got guys that end up quitting the next day. So that's really the only thing, like athleticism-wise, I think the NBA guys are a higher caliber athlete for the most part. Yeah. But I just think the translation of the two, I think that's different.
All right, so lastly then, who would you pick of the four major sports, which is the toughest to make it into? Major League Baseball, NFL, NHL, or NBA?
I would say either MLB or NHL.
Yeah.
First of all, hockey, you got to skate the whole time, right? That's a whole different skill. You got to take skating classes even to just be remotely decent at hockey.
I ain't touching that ice.
And then, of course, hey, come on, man. And you know how that goes. But anyway, and then in the MLB, I think that's just the most overall difficult game to play, with the sheer number of games, the many levels that you can get lost in the minor league system before you can even touch, the dream of making it to the major leagues. And so I think those two are probably the most difficult to get at. They're all, 1 in 100,000 shots or whatever, right?
Yeah.
But I think that the athlete translates the best overall, though, that baseball athlete. And I tell you, the best, number one athlete in the world right now, Mookie Betts. Google.
Oh, my gosh. Get him out of here with that one. Appreciate the call, Jalen. The number one athlete in the world is Mookie Betts. I guess I can't argue against it.
Yeah, you can.
But what I will say, I'm not going to argue against. I don't know the numbers on this guy, what his 40 time is and all of that stuff. But what I will say is, yeah, people do baseball as their side gig. You know how like some dudes do side gig, they like drive Uber or drive Lyft. I've seen dudes play baseball at the major league level as their side gig. You ain't finna sit here and convince me that thing is harder to get into than the NBA. Who do you know just picks up when they're off time? Oh, I'm going to just join the Lakers right quick. I watch dudes in the middle of their career leave and go play baseball. Get out of here with that. 888-760-3776, 888-760-3776. Which league is tougher to make it into, the NFL or the NBA? And this all stems off of Austin Rivers saying he could take 30 NBA players, drop them on the NFL field, and they can excel. And I don't disagree with Austin Rivers because I've seen it happen time and time again. We go back to the Baptist Health Hotlines. We got Kevin in Boca. Kevin's in Boca. He's on Theoretically Speaking. What's happening, Kev?
What's going on, guys?
Nothing much.
Yeah, basically when it comes to it, Theo, I agree with you. So basically when it comes to translation, I think that NBA players could translate a lot easier to the NFL. Because how many times do we hear that, these tight ends are former basketball players? It's really the footwork, right?
All the time.
NBA players have that finesse ability and the skill. And, of course, it's a more exclusive club based on the height that's needed as well. But I will say the NFL players are super athletic, where half the players, I would probably say like 95% of these players could dunk, no matter what position they're in terms of the NFL. But overall, in terms of, the translation, NBA is a lot tougher. And then the NFL is just a combination of just freak athletes. But it's just more of an exclusive club when it comes to the NBA.
It is. It's much, and I appreciate the call, Devin. It's more exclusive in the NBA because there's also like height requirements. Like, Jalen from North Carolina, he brought up T. Higgins. That dude's 6'4". He's 6'3". You know who else is 6'3"? Steph Curry, who we call small. Like, T. Higgins wouldn't last a day in the NBA. Whereas we've seen the amount of guys, Donovan McNabb, Julius Peppers, Terrell Owens, Antoine Randall, Antonio Gates, guys who they couldn't make it into the NBA. Your Hall of Famers in the NFL couldn't make it into the NBA, but they were elite-level athletes, and they were able to transition into that sport. And, of course, obviously, they were already playing football, but the NBA is so much more difficult. Like, I saw them fawning over Jalen Ramsey highlights. That dude couldn't dribble the ball past half court against the worst team. You see how bad the Indiana Pacers are at defense. I mean, you could lock up Jalen Ramsey with the third guy off the bench of the Pacers, let alone if you had to go up against a guy like Jaden McDaniels or Lou Dort. Like, it is insane to me the amount of confidence NFL players have that they can do this. And the easiest example of all of this, Charlie Ward, who won a Heisman at Florida State in 1993, could have went to the NFL or the NBA. And he went to the NBA. And part of the reason why a lot of NFL guys are using that as a point of, Charlie Ward picked the NBA because it was the easier route. No, it's the smarter route, number one. And number two, because damn it, he could go to the NBA. The Heisman winning quarterback of a Power 5 school chose the NBA because he could. And if any of them dudes that are playing football right now, like, I bet you Aaron Donald is elite as good as he is, making $30 million a year on his last couple of contracts in the NFL. I bet he wish he could play in the NBA.
Longer career.
Because D'Angelo Russell's making $30 million a year, and he stinks. It's hard to get in the NBA, and it pays very well. When we come back here, I'll give you the results to our poll. Which of the 4 big American sport leagues is the most difficult to play in? And we're going to bring in Evan Cohen from Unsportsmanlike. He'll give his answer on that. Plus, we'll put him through some sports theoreticals. I got a lot of heat questions for Evan Cohen, who drives heat culture on the national airwaves for Unsportsmanlike. He's back when we come back. CKatt's here. I'm here as well. Theo Dosey. We're theoretically speaking on ESPN 106.3.
Live from the Anajar and Levine Accident Attorney Studios. Anajar